Welcome to the Michigan Golfer Show. Join us each week as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great game.
Hello, I'm Jack Berry, and in kind of breezy northern Ohio, speaking with two of the finest golf course architects in the business, Arthur Hills, who has been at it for 50-something years, and his associate Steve Forrest. And we were talking a little bit about Oakland Hills, which of course was in the news recently with the Amateur Championship and looked so terrific. And Art, you've done some work there at Oakland Hills over the years. Well, tell us about that.
Yeah, Jack, we did some work there. Initially, we renovated the practice facility on the south course and also rebuilt some tees there. We never touched any bunkers or any greens or any of the routing of the golf course. And then they came to us and they said, well, we want to do an extensive remodel and renovation of the north course. And so we put together a master plan, and then Sean Smith, who's in our office, got involved in implementation of that master plan, and he's worked very closely with the people up there, and it's turned out well. In fact, the membership really likes to play the north course because it's not quite as...
That's what I understand.
As the south.
The bunkers aren't so deep that you can need a periscope to try and find the green.
Friendly.
Right. And we had a nice talk with Sean the other day at Oakland Hills. Hi, I'm Jack Berry, and today I'm at the Oakland Hills Country Club North Course with Sean Smith, landscape architecture graduate, a member of the Arthur Hills Steve Forrest staff at down in Toledo, and they did some work here. Tell us about what you did, Sean.
Yes, the improvements that we made here to the North Course really started on 14, 15, and 16, which started out, there's a valley in those particular holes that are pretty heavy peat soils, better part of 20 feet. And they struggled with them for years because they were spongy when they were wet, and when they dried out they would crack and open up big seams, and so they struggled with them from a maintenance standpoint for years, and they finally got around to deciding to fix those issues. And so we made some pretty significant improvements on those particular holes. Specifically on 15, we shifted a pond that was on the line of play, cut the ridge down in front of the tee, and opened up a sight line down into the landing area. And I think made some really nice improvements on 15. Took what was probably one of their weaker holes on the two golf courses and probably made it into one of the prettier golf holes on the golf course. In addition to some of the drainage improvements that we did on 15 and 16, we also rebuilt all their tee complexes, squared up all the tees with the exception of the 110 tee complex. And we also rebuilt about a third of their bunkers, and specifically a lot of those were the fairway bunkers, where we repositioned them further down the landing area so that they challenged the better players and didn't unnecessarily penalize the mid to high handicappers.
Now this was designed by Donald Ross right about the same time he did the Championship South Course on the other side of the street, and it seemed like this course didn't get the same kind of publicity or the same kind of feel about it being a championship, but I think that's changed. I think you've helped do that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the North Course has always kind of been the little brother, if you will, and for many years it's kind of been the secret favorite for the members, because the South is so challenging for the membership that many of them enjoyed the North Course for that reason, that it was a little bit more playable, a little bit more enjoyable. It's got a lot of similar characteristics to the South, but just a little bit more subdued, a little shorter, and a little bit easier, a lot more playable, probably a little bit more fun for most people to play. So.
Greens not as severe?
No, they're not. They're similar in character with the little shelves and plateaus, but they're not nearly as severe, which helps you get through the round with maybe a few less three putts, which is good.
Now you've been at this for a long time. You said 20 years that you've been with Art, and what all of you had your hand on and been digging into the dirt over those years?
Right. Well, I've worked with Art closely for a number of years. When I first started out with him, he was dragging me to Washington, D.C. and various places on the East Coast, helping out with master plans for improvements at various courses. More recently, obviously, we've done some work here, but we also did some renovation work on Inverness down in Toledo. which we brought back a lot of the original Ross features that had kind of been lost there over the years. In addition to that, I've done a few courses, a couple in Texas, one in Southern California, as well as a few others around the country. But it's been predominantly renovation, which is kind of near and dear to my heart. I enjoy.
Coast to coast you've been.
Yes. I've seen a lot of travels over the years, from Bahrain to Portugal. There was a period there before the recession where we were traveling a lot, and it seemed like I was on a plane about every other day there for a while. So.
Well, it's starting to pick up now, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It was slow there for a few years, but we've seen an uptick in especially renovation work in the last 5 to 6 years, more specifically the last 3 years, and it's good to see. It's nice to be a little busier again.
What do you like about taking a course, say a Donald Ross, or what are some of the other old-time designers that you've worked on?
Well, Donald Ross is probably one that I've worked on the most. We've done a little bit of work on, we did a project in the Washington, D.C. area which was a William Flynn. The thing that I really like about the old architects is it was simpler, cleaner lines. It was just a classic architectural design style. And I love returning to these old golf courses and kind of seeing where they're at. You can walk around the north course and even the south course here, and you can kind of go pick out where the old bunkers used to be if you really pay attention to the landforms, and you start to see the little features that are out there, and you kind of envision what that golf course might have looked like in the 1920s. And to be able to take some of that and kind of recapture it today is pretty special, and it's a lot of fun to do.
Before it was changed in 1951
Yes,
by Robert Trent Jones, yep. And he moved those bunkers and all.
Yeah, he did. He moved around a few bunkers. He rerouted a few holes at the same time, and partially for the better too. 15, 16 used to go opposite directions, but I think the configuration of how they lay on the land now is probably a little bit better, especially with the homes on the west side of 15. But it's a tremendous golf course, and both the north and the south, and it was a pleasure to be able to be a part of the project. So.
Well, there's no gimmicks. It's not a gimmicky course, either one of them.
No, there certainly isn't. It lays out in front of you, and it's a very scenic golf course because the topography that you have here at Oakland Hills is unique. This area of Michigan typically is kind of rolling terrain, and one of the things that we did, and part of this project, was to remove a handful of trees, and we started isolating the big specimen trees that we have around the golf course, and in doing that we were able to really highlight those big trees and kind of let them sit out there on the plain by themselves, but we were also able to open up some of the landforms. And so now you can see across 2 and 3 and 4 different holes and see the rolling topography where, prior to the renovation, it kind of got choked out by trees and you couldn't see it. So
well, that's common, isn't it?
Absolutely. There's definitely a trend in that direction, with especially these older golf courses trying to get back to what they were a little bit more, in their origins, with fewer trees. So.
Nice job.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure. We had a great group, great staff here. Steve Cook and his staff and everybody here at the club has been wonderful to work with, and we're just honored to have the opportunity to be here and help them out with their improvements.
Well, it's a proud place here, and they've had 2 rounds of here for the match play, before the match play, the stroke play here on the north course and the south course, and I think everybody enjoyed it.
Good. Yeah, it's the scores are maybe a little bit higher, but you would expect that on a little bit shorter golf course, a little bit more playable of a golf course. But I think it held its own pretty well, and it was fun to see them play it. I know I sat up on the hill behind 16 for the better part of the afternoon, a couple days, and watched them come in on 16, go down on 15, tee off on 17. It's a really neat vantage point where you can see just about the entire golf course and see about 4 or 5 holes at the same time. So it's fun.
Well, we've been talking with Sean Smith, who is working here to renovate some of the holes at the north course at Oakland Hills Country Club, the jewel of championship golf in Michigan and one of the jewels in the world.
Thank you.